Hi there. Grab a cuppa, take a seat, come and meet your health coach. Brought to you by vitalhealthcoaches.com. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the podcast, Meet Your Health Coach. My name is Clare Sharpen, I'm your host, and today I'm really pleased to welcome Sallyann Doble to the podcast. Hi Sally, welcome.
Hi, Claire.
So Sally's a certified health coach. Would you like to tell us first a bit about yourself, Sally?
Yes, of course. I live just outside Rye on the edge of Romney Marsh in Kent. It's a really unique environment with lots of empty fields and sweeping skies and really abundant wildlife. We get a lot of migrating birds here.
Lovely.
I'm also fortunate enough to live really close to some really lovely sandy beaches. So I love to walk along them all year round. I cycle, and the walking and the cycling are really a big part of the way that I recharge. I also enjoy discovering new ingredients, travel, and getting lost in a really good crime novel.
Great. Sounds good. So, what brought you into health coaching?
Oh, well, it's very much a story of self-development and wanting to do the best for my clients. So I started my career as a business researcher and I worked in investment banking, strategy consulting. However, I got to the point where I'd really lost the joy and the satisfaction of what I was doing.
Mm,
I didn't want to move into management and I couldn't see any progression in terms of my own development. And more importantly, I think I didn't feel as though I'm making the difference that I wanted to make. So I actually started working with a career coach, and she made me realize that what really motivated me was helping people with their problems and their issues rather than dealing with information. So I've subsequently been working as a coach for 20 years and supporting clients with a particular focus on all aspects of change, in particular job loss, tough career and life choices,
mm,
where people so often experience issues such as stress, loss of confidence, and limiting self-beliefs. Um, so that experience has really led me to develop a strong interest in mindset and resilience. So I trained as a resilience coach. And during lockdown, I spent a lot of time reading around stress and anxiety.
mm,
And this in turn heightened my awareness of the strong link between nutrition and mental health, and in particular, how the gut and the brain communicate with each other.
mm.
So it's like sort of anticipation of a good meal. You start salivating and your stomach rumbles, or when you're nervous, you get butterflies in your tummy. And that can really impact, of course, on stress and anxiety and your general well-being. So I went on to gain an accreditation as a nutrition advisor, which really ignited my desire to develop a much deeper and wider understanding of how our diet impacts on our mental health. And that's the point that I discovered health coaching,
Mm.
which was which was amazing. It really connected with me because it takes a much more holistic approach to people's lives, because your health is so much more than the food on your plate. It's around your career, your environment, your stress levels, how much exercise you take. So that's how I came to health coaching.
Mm,
And now working as a health coach, I feel as I'm really making a difference.
mm.
I think we all need to value our health and not take it for granted. And I think a lot of us sometimes do. We only have one life and we need to live it well. So if I can play a small part in helping my clients live a long and healthy life, that is how I want to make a difference. It's really the last piece of the puzzle for me.
That's really interesting. Like it's almost like a full circle. You started with coaching and got interested in different aspects of health and then have ended up with health coaching.
Yeah, yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, it's all
Great.
the connections. Yeah.
Who is it that you specifically work with? Do you have a kind of target client group?
Yeah, yeah. I work with professional women in midlife who've lost control of their health and well-being. They're running on empty. Very often work has taken over their lives and they're just tired of being tired, and they feel guilty when they rest or do something for themselves. So they're very ambitious in their careers.
Mm.
They're always busy looking after everybody else, particularly their families, but they've neglected themselves. So as a result, as you can imagine, their energy is really low. They struggle with shifting that weight that so many of us put on in midlife. They want to get fit and healthier, but they don't know where to start.
Mm.
And I think because there's such low energy, they're mentally trapped in quite a negative thinking. And there's a lot of self-doubt and imposter syndrome come into the equation with the women that I've been working with. And they developed a poor relationship with food because they're always rushing around,
Yeah.
looking after other people or working, and very often they're too tired to cook or they'll skip meals. And that results in, grabbing a really unhealthy snack like some biscuits or crisps or something like that.
Mm.
And they're fed up with trying quick fix diets, which don't produce the results that they want. So they're just really ready for a different approach.
Mm.
And I think also just going back to my work as a coach, as a career coach, I think midlife is often a time for reflection, to pause and take stock
Mm.
and maybe embrace change. A lot of people are ready, really ready to embrace change and rethink their life choices. So there's another common theme that I would mention, that they all want to, as we all do, they want to live a strong, healthy life, a long, healthy life. And they see, that many of their parents are suffering from the kind of chronic diseases and health issues that they want to avoid.
Mm.
And that is one of the key motivators for some of my clients coming to me.
Are you working with a similar group as when you were doing the career coaching, or is there some overlap, or is that quite different to before?
There's overlap.
Mm.
The career coaching, I've worked with a wide variety of people at all different levels within organizations.
Mm.
But I think we're all human, so the feelings and the emotions and the challenges that they're facing, there's a very strong overlap.
So you've got obviously many years of coaching experience, to over 20 years as a career coach. Now, as a health coach, how do you kind of foster strong connections with your clients, with the people you're working with?
I think it's a lot of it is down to my life experience. It's really given me the ability to empathize with people. And with my career coaching clients in particular, I've experienced a lot of the frustrations and challenges and stresses that they have experienced. And I think sharing that experience of other clients that I work with really helps them and empowers them to believe that change is possible. As I mentioned, I've been stuck in a rut in terms of my career. Not that long ago, I put on a couple of stone because I was unhappy, and I would snack on chocolate and crisps and whatever was to hand until, I just looked in the mirror one day and decided this isn't who I want to be.
Mm.
And that is the same for the clients that come to me. It's about identity. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? And I would say also that I'm somebody who gets a real motivation from supporting other people in their wellness, in their career, whatever it might be that they need support with. But I haven't always been great with self-care.
Mm.
And I know the impact that has. I've learned that it's not selfish, that it's essential part of our lives.
And it's interesting hearing you describe someone in midlife with all these things on our plates,
Mm.
and that self-care can feel selfish, or just goes to the bottom of the list, or just becomes another thing to do. I can really see how setting aside some time can help just give some clarity, I guess. Would that be, yeah, how you see it?
No, absolutely. And that was a big part of my training as resilience coach in terms of pacing ourselves. And that's how I work with everybody. Pace yourselves. You don't have to be running around like headless chicken all day. You can be much more productive if you take a lunch break, even if it's only half an hour.
Mm.
If you take 5 or 10 minutes in every hour, just have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, stare out the window and do nothing. Sometimes doing nothing is the most productive thing you can do because you'll find you're more resourceful. Coaching for me is about making people more resourceful.
Mm.
I don't tell people what to do. One of my clients recently said, what I really loved about you was you didn't tell me what to do.
Mm.
You let me work it out for myself. So I think it's learning to pace yourself is one of the key things that we all need to learn to live happier, healthier lives and de-stress.
And that can be a real challenge if you've been galloping through life
Yeah,
for decades, potentially.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's how I work with the clients. I make them accountable. I say, okay, what's your intention this week, tomorrow, today?
Mm,
What are you going to do? What's one thing you're going to do that's going to make a difference? And it's those small incremental changes.
mm,
Because I think, we're human, as human beings, we're much more comfortable staying within our comfort zone.
mm.
And we see change as a bit of a challenge. But it's all possible. It goes back to mindset, doesn't it? Our thoughts create our reality and our beliefs. So it's just changing that and reframing it into more positive ways of thinking.
And it's interesting when you say the phrase resilience coach, which isn't really something I've come across particularly. That sounds like it could be quite painful. Right, I'm here to develop your resilience. But actually, what you're describing sounds like quite the opposite. Actually, how do you pace yourself? How do you become more aware of what you need? And
Absolutely. It's doing what we should all be doing and setting boundaries, taking time out, connecting with people, and then just understanding your strengths as well. I think we all tend to forget our strengths. We live life on automatic mode so much of the time.
right, yeah. Because one of my questions was, why do you think we struggle with this so much?
Because,
It seems so hard.
yeah, because I think the pace of life is so fast now, and the pace of change all over the world, whether it be political or environmental or social. And I believe there's so much pressure, particularly on people who are in roles that they want to keep their jobs. And that pressure causes them to think, well, I've got to be working, I've got to be doing this, get that work done today or otherwise.
Becoming a hamster on
It
a
is a
wheel kind of
hamster,
thing.
exactly. And that's how I describe a lot of these women. They're hamsters, hamsters on a wheel.
So, in helping people to get off this
Mm.
hamster wheel, what would you say are the benefits or the transformations that you've seen in some people that you've worked with?
Oh, right. Okay. It's probably easier if I give you an example of a recent client. She was a senior HR director and had recently been promoted. And she had lots of ideas about changes to processes and procedures. And with that, she put very high expectations on herself. I've got to do it all now. I've got to do it in the next 3 months. And she began to overextend herself. And that resulted in working long hours, the poor boundaries. And needless to say, her energy became very low and everything, it just became the norm. We gradually slip into these, what I would call bad habits. It feels like normal. This is how it is.
Yeah.
So she was tired. She frequently find it difficult to concentrate. And then when you get tired, we get irritable and we have mood swings. And she would have a biscuit every time she had a cup of tea. She always used to exercise, but there was never time. Time or
Mm,
perceived lack of it is one of the biggest barriers to change.
yeah.
So she was at risk also of developing diabetes. We began by creating a really clear vision of what she wanted her health and her life to look like. Because I think the why is so important because
Mm,
it helps you anchor your motivation and gives you a sense
mm,
of purpose. So we come back to the why throughout our time together, just to make sure that she's really focusing. So we started by looking at her diet. That's the starting point, I think. I never fully appreciated the impact of blood sugar on our system, on our energy and our cravings, because I used to eat cakes and sweets day in, day out.
mm,
Your blood sugar does dictate your hunger cravings and your energy levels. And so we viewed her diets. I asked to do a food diary. And what we identified was she was eating a lot of what we call simple carbs. So they're like biscuits, bread, and pasta. So when you eat them, the sugar is released into your bloodstream really quickly. So we end up with a sort of roller coaster of
mm,
spikes and dips. and that causes fat to be spread around your tummy and your organs if it's not used up in terms of energy. So what we did was created a really realistic, family-friendly meal plan for the week. Because when they're so busy, they never have time to plan anything, don't plan meals. So it's all very ad hoc. So including more protein in every meal, swapping the unhealthy carbs for oats, brown rice, veg. So it's identifying foods that they like. And
Mm.
she dusted off her cookery recipe books and really came back to enjoying cooking and exploring different recipes. We then looked at her routine, her schedule, because she managed her own time. So we put some boundaries in place in terms of windows for self-care every day. And that would include a proper lunch break, as I mentioned before, going out for a quick walk at lunchtime, if weather permitting, and reconnecting with a personal trainer that she had been working with until a couple of years ago. And that together helped her feel more energized and more purposeful.
And can I ask, Sallyann, are these changes that she identified as the process kind of unfolded and things that she identified as priorities and wanted to put in place?
She identified them. I didn't, as I said before, I don't tell people what to do. It's much more, what I want to do is empower clients. So she came up with the ideas. We
Mm,
explored how can you make time to do this? What difference would it make to you? And I think one of the most powerful questions that she said that I asked her was, is this taking you away from or towards your goal? So when the donuts were brought in the office for a cup of tea at 11 o'clock, she would ask herself that and say, no, I don't want one.
And like you described, she already had her why quite clear.
She had the why. We keep going back to the why. And I think that one of the most powerful things with coaching is to keep people accountable. So
Mm,
we keep in regular contact. How's it going? And celebrate small wins. I think is
mm,
really important, however small they are, and really look to see if we need to adjust the goals or anything that will help them.
mm.
So it's not about willpower, it's about support.
Great. And can you describe to me just an example or two of how transformation, so what transformation looked like in a client?
I think if I put it in one sentence, she said she was proud of her progress and she finally feels like herself again. She's out of an unhealthy rut. She's developed healthy habits because we're all creatures of habit. And once you get into bad habits, it's quite difficult to get out of it sometimes.
Mm, mm,
So she's just regained her energy and her motivation, and she's lost half a stone at this point in
mm,
time. And
mm,
that's not through restricting herself. I don't diet. Hate the word diet. As soon as I think about dieting, I want to eat something.
mm.
But this is about what you should include in your diet rather than what take away.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Or like you've described, small kind of tweaks, replacing something less healthy with something more rather than a wholesale
Absolutely.
complete
Yeah,
change.
yeah,
And it's fascinating, isn't it, how coaching can just bring about what looks like very small changes, but incrementally over time make a really big difference.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because that's why it works. That's why it's so effective. Because it's just those small changes. And I think, obviously we can adapt according to the client. If
Mm,
there's somebody who wants to reach for bigger goals quickly, then that's fine if that's something they can do. And I've had clients do that. But
mm,
what we've come back to within a few weeks is going back and making smaller adjustments. But I think it's very much obviously about understanding the client's personality and how best to work with them.
And so, if a client were to come to you and say, what is health coaching? Can you just briefly describe to me what is health coaching? What would you say?
I would say it's about accompanying them on a journey to develop really healthy lifestyle habits and nutrition, sustainable lifestyle habits and nutrition, having a healthy relationship with food so that they can achieve optimal health and live long, healthy, happier lives. So,
Sounds good
yeah.
to me. So, how do you work with clients? Are you online, face to face? How does the process kind of work?
I'm largely online unless the client is fairly local, in which case face to face would be great. But since lockdown, like many of us, I've been working on Zoom solely. So it's online, and I have a number of different programs depending on the client's requirements. My starting point would be a 6-week program, and that would be give the results I described just now with the client example, just designed to help you reset your health and feel strong and confident in your body again and take really achievable steps. So we're not looking for perfection here. We're just laying the foundations for lasting change. I think people are very concerned of the need to take control of their own health. So change that works with your lifestyle, not against it. So what would be included in that would be a 90-minute initial consultation. And for that, we would go through your health questionnaire, which is mandatory for all clients. So I get a really good sense of their lifestyle, any medication, any issues, what their goals are in terms of what they're wanting to achieve. And that would be followed by 5, ideally weekly one-to-one sessions via Zoom. We would create a personalized wellness roadmap because I'm very much led by clients. And as I mentioned, daily intention setting, a lot of resources such as ebooks and recipes. And then again, WhatsApp, email questions in between sessions. So whatever they need, I'm very happy to support them with any questions they have. And my motivation comes from their success.
Great. So, if someone's listening to this
Mm.
and interested in finding out more, where can someone contact you?
They can contact me via vitalhealthcoaches.com. I have my profile on there together with a fuller description of the kind of programs that I offer. They can also contact me by my email, apchealthcoaching@gmail.com.
Okay, great. Well, it's been really interesting to hear about your approach, how you've moved from career coaching and many years experience of career coaching and drawing on your own experience to supporting people in making lasting changes through health coaching. So, it's been a really interesting conversation. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. And yeah, I wish you every success with your clients going forwards.
Thank you very much indeed. It's so lovely to be able to share health coaching and the results that it can give people.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. For more on how a health coach can support you in your health journey, please go to vitalhealthcoaches.com.